Hi everyone, welcome to my new podcast, Cyber Talent Unlocked, giving talent leaders a platform to discuss their companies, the recruitment processes that they have, and why you should think of having a career with them. Today I'm absolutely delighted to welcome Daryl Benson. Daryl is the founding talent acquisition lead at TryHackMe, the leading online platform for learning cybersecurity. Daryl, good afternoon, and thank you for being part of this podcast. How are you today? Everything all right?
Yeah, awesome. No, thanks for having me. It's I think this is I'm popping my podcast cherry today. So yeah, I'm excited to get going. Excited to answer some questions. But yeah, no, exciting times for TryHackMe, the industry, the TA industry, recruitment industry as a whole, just the market in general. Right, there's so much to talk about, and so excited.
Yeah. No, that's the idea of this podcast series. It's giving talent leaders and also the industry itself, ideas of how we can improve talent and recruitment in general, but also obviously giving you, that brand recognition and putting TryHackMe on the map for people looking for new opportunities and a new career move, whether they're inside or outside the company. So one of the, speaking to candidates every single day, one of the key questions that I always get asked is around the company culture. People don't often get to understand a company culture until they're in a business or until they're going through the process. Anybody looking in at TryHackMe, obviously you've got the mission statement on the website, but what's the company culture like at the business? Tell me what it's all about.
Yeah, it's a really good question. I mean, we're obviously, we're a startup. We kind of consider ourselves, I suppose, a scale up now. We were built in 2018. However, we're still very much a startup because I suppose let's take it back to the start. We're a fully bootstrapped business, so we don't have VC money just floating around, but we're in a very good position to be profitable as a business as well. So we've still got that startup DNA within us. I think that's really important to quickly sort of establish. But the way we kind of operate, and we've had a real big pivot over the last year or so, is we're really starting to operate with urgency. We're really starting to hold ourselves to a higher bar, and we've got this kind of analogy internally that we want to operate like an elite sports team. So your Manchester Cities in football or your Ferrari or Red Bull in racing. We really want to operate that, and we want to hire A players. So we want people that are driven, resilient, and ready to really make an impact, because those that don't know TryHackMe, we are making a daily impact to the cybersecurity industry, whether it will be teaching them red teaming offensive, blue teaming defensive, or cloud or development security. We're genuinely making a massive impact in the cyber world. But also, I know it sounds quite cheesy, but we're genuinely ultimately saving lives. Right? There's actually been a recent death on the news from a cyber attack. And we're teaching and giving people the ability to be more. It's not consumers, it's also businesses. So when it comes to culture, we're part of our own DNA. One by one, we come in as almost like founders, right? I was the founding TA member, so we've grown the team now to a team of 3, soon to be hopefully 4. But everybody comes in with that founder's attitude. So that's a really big thing for us, and coming in to really make a lasting impact is something that's really important. But the culture as a whole is super fast paced, super intense. A lot of pretty much everything we do in the business is almost 70 to 80% greenfield. So it's brand new. You've got to come with ideas. You've got to have that autonomous type of way of thinking. And ultimately, we don't really hire anybody at a junior level because we are still growing and building. We need those people to come in and make an impact immediately. There are views in the future to kind of expand that and bring in more sort of graduate levels and stuff. We're talking about schemes, but for us, we need impact. We're not a typical workplace. We're super intense, we're ambitious, and we want people to thrive in a challenging and profitable environment.
Yeah, no, fantastic. And just going on that sort of, that sort of startup and scale up mentality. And I love the fact that you touched on that. I suppose it leads quite nicely into the next bit around sort of, what makes a standout candidate for TryHackMe. I know the work that we do within that sort of startup and scale up space. You've got those people that want, those people that are experienced and know exactly what it's like to join a business where you've got to wear many different hats. So what I suppose, what attributes are, a top performer at the company, and how do you sort of assess how they're going to fit into the business, not just their ability to do the job, but also from a cultural standpoint as well?
It's a really good question, and I don't really have a platinum bullet answer to that, to be honest, because it changes per department, changes per role, and it also, because we're constantly developing as a business and growing, we're going through mammoth growth right now. Just put that into context. Last year we had 3 million consumers. We now have 6 million. Over a year, we've doubled. And that's also with headcount. We're about 70, 75 headcount last year. We're now 155. So it's literally like blown up. I'm absolutely blown up. So naturally, our culture and what we try to look for in candidates is constantly pivoting. And we're still actually learning ourselves, right? We may be a 7-year-old business, but like I say, no VC money is we've had to grow organically, right? So it's not, we don't have these advisors saying, okay, we quantify success because we've just pumped in 30 million, we want you to be 300 people. That's not how we grow. We grow on the fact that our consumers are asking for us. But I suppose what really stands out for us in a candidate is, we're a PLG, so product-led growth environment. So we grow from our product, and we want people to be product focused. So if people come to screening interviews, whatever they may be, and they've not had a look at the platform, even played with it, it's a really cool tool. I'm using it. I'm about 11 or 15% away through DevSecOps at the moment. Finding it really interesting. Absolutely love it. I've done my 8 rooms. I'm not a technologist, but I'm invested in what we're doing constantly. And if candidates aren't haven't got a product mindset, then honestly they're not for us. And that's not just technical. If you're a salesperson, go look at what you're ultimately going to be selling, right? If you're part of our CS team, how can you support our customer more and more? How can you be a thought partner? So I think that kind of ambitious kind of product-led mindset is going to do very, very well here. And naturally, when you come into interview with us, it's not asking the questions of, when were you founded, or what are your founders like? It's like, what can I do to help you? What are the gaps in your teams right now, and what can I do to make an impact in your business? And that's a slight mindset shift. People that are ambitious definitely do very well here. People that have ownership mentality, so that kind of founders mentality, so coming in and kind of acting as though I came in as the first TA person. I'm now naturally are the founder of that, but I run TA as it is literally my own product. So it's my own team. It's my own product environment. I run it kind of like a product anyway, very agile. But ownership is really important. And naturally from that, we have a value called bias for action. So bias for action is, I don't want to swear, but getting stuff done, right? It's just absolutely nailing everything possible, and really kind of seeing that, okay, that needs to be done. Let's just go do it. Beg for forgiveness later. If we move the needle 1%, we might help another 100,000 people over the next couple of months. Learn cyber or impact the cyber industry. So move the needle, break things, iterate. Learn quickly, fail fast. That sort of attitude is really important to us. And finally, I think another value of ours, and I know I've kind of gone around the values, but they are very important to us and part of our DNA, is willingness to contribute. It's even today I saw that. So we just recently hit the 6 million mark of the consumers thing, and I was looking around our company site, just as I always do, to update candidates. We're building this, or we've just built this. This has just been released. And I noticed we still stated on a couple of pages 5 million. So straight away I go into the Slack channels and I'm like, hey guys, this needs to be changed. Do you know what I mean? But that's that kind of that mindset of, don't just leave someone else to do it. Like, contribute, add value to anything that's not just your department. And again, those people do incredibly well. We've hired some amazing people, and we consider our team to be A players now. We're in a really good spot to bring in some great people. Naturally, it has a knock-on effect because we've raised the bar, so it's harder to recruit. But no, they're definitely the types of. So we made my job harder. But naturally, those sorts of people do incredibly well here. And honestly, personality over skill set, I think for us is incredibly important.
Fantastic. I love the fact that you mentioned the ownership thing, because whenever I speak to startups and scale ups, it is about that, taking ownership for something. If you see something that's wrong or needs to be done, take ownership of it and do it. Make a breakout team, do different things. So I think, again, exactly where TryHackMe are, it really does lend into that sort of startup and scale up environment. Like you said, you've done such a good job in hiring. It's now making it more difficult for you, but it's a good position to be in. At least you're going to start to attract, even better people, hopefully moving forward, and continue that sort of development of the business. Just regarding the skills and experience that sort of drive success, I know you sort of you mentioned a few there about that ownership piece, and people that've got that determination and hunger to succeed and want to break things and sort of put it back together again and understand how they did that. I suppose from a sales and GTM perspective, and from sort of a tech perspective, when you're hiring, how does it look? What sort of certifications and accreditations, experience are you looking for when hiring, the tech side? And like you said, sales and go-to-market, you still look for people that are naturally inquisitive, which I think most cyber people are. What experience are you looking for on that side?
Another good question. When it comes to, I'll start with the GTM. So I suppose for us, what we really, we impact some incredible businesses like NASA, the US military, Google, LinkedIn. We have some incredible clients, and I'm not just name dropping. I kind of, in fact, I am. Let's face it. But for us to constantly impact these businesses and cyber teams, we can't just be like, sell, or BD, or jump on a CS call and be like, you haven't logged in for the last 5 days. Why? Let's be like, listen, you haven't logged in. What is the reason? Okay, the reason is you've been working on this. Okay, that is something actually we can impact more. So we could have saved you hours. And it's been that kind of thought partner. I think for our GTM and the way we want to go is we want to make actual impact. We want people to kind of use this as almost like a confidant, right? And kind of be like, we're actually struggling in this area as a business. And let's be honest, like every business is struggling in almost every area. I'll hold my hand up and say we're having challenges with TA, absolutely. But I speak to TA professionals elsewhere to get some feedback, get some answers. And that's exactly what those GTM people are about, right? They're there to be a voice at the end of the phone, be a face at the end of a video call, and add value from that thought perspective. Okay, be that sounding board. And I think that is really missing in a lot of typical, and I'm going to upset a lot of people, but a typical GTM people is they lose themselves in what the product and vision is, and they rather focus on how do I just make that revenue? How do I retain their customers, and how do I make that revenue and sell? I think take yourself away from that and really learn about the market, add value in the market. And we've just hired I'll actually name drop him. Noah, a new BDR of ours, he is just in the weeds and just learning. He's never worked in cyber, but now he's just learning as much as he possibly can. He's active on LinkedIn. He's doing an incredible job. All of our GTM team are. So I don't know why I just name dropped one, but he was the first one that came to mind. Sorry, everyone else. But yeah, I mean, that I think for us is really important. That kind of curiosity about the market, the product, how we can impact businesses. I think when it comes to GTM, we don't necessarily need actual accreditation or experience in the sense of qualifications. Some form of scrappy startup, scale up type experience is nice, but ultimately if you've sold into enterprise level businesses that have cyber teams, or you've got a black book or something on those lines, that's going to really help. Leaning onto the technical side, so for us, hiring cyber is slightly different to a standardized business hiring cyber, because we don't necessarily hire cyber people to do cyber. What we do is hire cyber people to teach cyber, right? So they have to have a real passion for learning, mentoring, teaching, and actually putting what they know on paper and presenting that. And of course, we go through loads of different QA loops before it kind of goes live. But the people that we have are incredible. They've been around the market. They whether it be red teaming, whether it be doing pen testing, whether there be incident response specialists, whatever it may be, and they've now joined to build the future of cyber. And that for us is straight away, as soon as they've got that passion, if they connect those dots and they can tell a story, that for us is the experience needed. Everything else in terms of GAC and all these types of different different abbreviations that I'm still learning to this day, even though I've got a slight cyber background being military. But there's so many coming out the woodworks. A typical cyber role, you'll just have a long list of certifications. Go right, okay, they're good for us. Yes, that helps, but again, that kind of personality, that kind of I want to teach people, that's gonna lend itself very well here. Software engineering and kind of product. That product-led kind of mindset is super important. I think for us, curiosity around AI is also really important, and we're really pleased to recently release an AI tutor called Echo, which we have massive ambition for this part of our product. But I don't know if you remember when you were younger and you used to use a word, and there used to be Clippy in the corner. It used to pop up when you needed help. Clippy. So it's kind of like that, right? It kind of pops up and goes, oh, you've been on this question for too long, or how can I help you with this course or something. And what we want to do is ultimately condense that learning time down as much as possible so people can ultimately learn more. So we have a real vision for not only us as a business, but education as a whole, and obviously cyber being at the forefront of that. So AI for us is really important. We've invested massively on across software engineering in Cursor, Claude, Code, GitHub Copilot, and other tools that we're using. For me, I'm using AI. AI, that kind of curiosity is really important. Within our candidate hub, when people apply, there's a blog set, and it's called AI Won't Replace You, People Using AI Will. I can talk about AI for a while, but that's obviously a really important trait for us. But ultimately, it's years experience. It's coming into our business and being able to add value, kind of been there, done that. But what a lot of people that have been there and done that fail and sometimes really struggle to do is translate what they've done. It's always, oh, we did this, we did that. It's okay, well, but what did you do? What did you build? What did you do? And what did you impact? And I think that if done well, and if my team do their job in terms of prepping people, is that's what's then portrayed in the interview. So not necessarily, we're not a very sort of looking at qualifications really. Obviously there's certain things, maybe compliance, IT, we'll look at kind of ITIL and all these kind of different things. But ultimately what we want is that experience, because we're a startup. We want people to add value almost immediately. So we want those opinions, we want those kind of answers to our questions.
Cool, love that. I love the fact that you mentioned sort of Recruiter's Handbook 101 when you're in an interview. Talk about what I did, not what we did. I preach it constantly to people.
We do every day, right?
You're going for a job yourself. It's not about you or your team. So preach that all the time. But just the other thing, what you said about sort of commerciability. Is that even a word? Just where where people are more consumer or customer friendly. It seems to be something that's becoming more relevant and prevalent within sort of at least the vacancies that we're getting from a sort of a technical sales or tech role. They are wanting people that are sort of more able to work with end customers, and are comfortable with end customers, because I appreciate some technical people they don't want to do that sort of work, but when times are required for people to get in with the customers, having that sort of ability to deal with them, so having that personality. So again, great points there to note for people. If you've got a good personality, then it could be a good fit. Just regarding sort of what stands out for you on a resume or CV, as I suppose we call it here in Europe. What sort of the specific sort of indicators of success that you're sort of looking for regarding sort of traditional backgrounds? I know you touched on it a bit there. You wanted people experienced, and it's not all about the accreditation certifications. It's about that level of experience and ability and personality. But is there anything else that you're sort of looking out for that people need to be sort of wary of when they're sort of putting their CV together?
It's a really good question. Again, you've obviously thought about these questions, but I've actually said this quite a lot over the last couple of weeks, because there's a massive shift in the market at the moment. But I said this today, and people actually laugh and they go, "That's absolutely true." Nobody right now in the market should have a bad CV. With the tools that are out there, GPT, everything. Genuinely, nobody should have a bad CV, right? So sadly, what our job now to do as recruitment professionals is kind of activate kind of detective mode, right? Kind of be like a Sherlock Holmes and kind of go, okay, right, their CV says this. What is the evidence to that, right? And do I look through their LinkedIn? Do I look through Stack Overflow, GitHub, Google Scholar, publications, personal website, whatever it may be? And does it all align to that story that they're ultimately selling, or does it just very kind of align mirror on our JD? Because if it's mirrored to our JD, and it's obvious they've used AI. And I'm not against people using AI at all. No, we're not at all. But it needs to be true. Because if we jump on a call and it's absolutely obvious that you genuinely don't even know what's on your CV, or you ask you a question, "Oh, you did this. Can you explain to how you did this?" And they're like, "Oh, we did," and it's like, again, it goes into the weeds, or it's like, "Oh no, I was only involved in the end of that project." But that's what's on your CV, right? So it needs to be truthful. It needs to be honest, because we will ask you. I think those sorts of I suppose GTM's prime example of this is, facts and figures. Figures are really important. If we were to apply for new roles, it would be like, how many people are we recruiting? What's the conversion rate of our source candidates? All these types of different things, right? That people are genuinely interested in. And how much money are we ultimately going to save the business in recruitment fees ultimately? That's what I really look for. And obviously the bold is always a thing in a CV. They like to highlight the special things, but if they've highlighted it, I'm going to ask them about it. I'm going to be like, okay, you're involved in this product. Let's say software engineer, you're involved in this product. I've typically done some research on the companies before I've gone into call, even if it's literally just very quick scan. I then ask them, okay, what meaningful parts of that product did you create? And if they can't bring that to light, and they've also got to remember, like, they're not speaking. I'm not a software engineer. I can get by. I've been doing this long enough now. But if they don't understand that they are speaking to certain different types of stakeholders and they need to be able to explain that product in that way, then again, they need to work on how they talk tech, because they could, and again, I might upset some people, but they might get a role in a consultancy, get slightly lost because they don't need to communicate so much about product. But in here, you'll be found out. A big thing for us is being visual. You're gonna be seen. Everybody gets seen. Everybody's a name on the board. There's no numbers here. So everybody adds value. And if you can't communicate what your experience is, that's an issue here. So that's what we want to see when we see applications. We want to see you translate your experience as much as possible. And it is tough, but there's loads of tools out there that can help. There's incredible agencies out there that can also help if you're working for agencies. But also most talent acquisition people, if you approach them, they typically will help you. I mean, you get hounded 400 or 500 times a week, of course, so they need to appreciate that. But if there's a real, people. So I actually used to do it when I was in a recruitment agency. I used to go to a potential clients and use the word help. I used to say, listen, could you help me? I'm supporting this person at the moment that's got and we need some help trying to find them their next role. People, we're nice people, right? And also we're British. We're even nicer. But the word help is something that resonates in our mind, right? So when you see that, you're going to respond. So if you don't know what you're doing when you're applying and you don't know how to apply, just ask for help. The power of LinkedIn, the power of the network, the power of your colleagues, your peers, just use them. You don't always have to go straight, narrow to the person that's going to be recruiting you. Ask someone first, listen, you used to work for this company, or you work for this company right now. How can I apply for this role? I think that it's really lacking in the market right now, because people are just tunnel vision of apply, quantity over quality. And sadly, we'll see that. We'll see that you've not tried in your application. And if you try, believe me,
LinkedIn.
it'll pay off one day. And also
LinkedIn easy apply.
Easy apply. Turn that off. Get rid of that. LinkedIn.
And I suppose that leads really nicely onto the next question, which is, just like agencies like us, I know that internal talent teams are just absolutely bombarded with, the increased application volume. There's been so many mergers and acquisitions, layoffs in the market. The market is saturated. There's some great candidates out there. But application volumes are just off the charts. So, I know recruitment's getting a bad rep at the minute, internal talent and agencies, ghosting, all that sort of bad stuff that's going on in the industry. So trying to shine a light on why we're so good at the job we do. How are you trying to maintain, you and your team sort of a strong candidate experience and dealing with that volume? How are you and your team sort of trying to manage that and make sure that the application experience is as good as it can be for candidates? Moving forward.
It's kind of like two questions in one there, but it kind of comes in twofold, right? I think initially what both parties need to do, the applier and the TA or recruitment professional at the end, we need to kind of swap roles and understand what it is like to apply and also what it's like to receive those applications. And I think that is also what's missing. But I also think there's a massive skills gap on people's understanding of what we actually do. What me and you do. It's like believe me, we are very, very busy. We're working 15, 16 hours a day every single day, and I don't think sometimes applications realize that. But also, you put themselves in the application shoes. They're out of work. They've just been made redundant. They've probably got wife, kids, houses, mortgages, and that it is genuinely heart wrenching. I'm not just making that up. I really want to help as many people as I possibly can, but ultimately, I've still got a job to do. Right? We need to still hire, and I know it sounds brutal, But sadly, that is the case, right? And I'll help as many people as I possibly can. I'm part of loads of different charitable organizations that I volunteer to support these types of different things. But sadly, we can't help everybody, especially when we're getting 1,000, 2,000 applications per role. And what we started to do, so initially, so I came in obviously as we were like, it was literally off the back of a fact packet. I literally recently hit my year. I wrote a blog on LinkedIn about it actually. But I came in, we were using Notion as an ATS. There was no way of deriving data, understanding what was working. Our PSL was like 60 odd people, 60 odd agencies. It was just mental. And I came in, I was like, well, firstly, we're working off LinkedIn Recruiter as well. So we're just advertising and receiving literally thousands of roles. But I think also being TryHackMe, it's also slightly a bit of a curse when it comes to apply advertising roles, because we've got 6 million users now, and everybody genuinely wants to help us and work with us. Although sadly they're not qualified enough for those particular positions, and we are potentially looking at doing stuff in the future with other consumers to kind of do internships and stuff like that. But that we need to get there first. So we do get a lot of applications. The way we've kind of done it is first and foremost, like I say, put ourselves in their shoes and what do they want to see? How do they want to apply for roles? So we've made the application process as seamless as possible, but whilst also getting enough information for us to ascertain whether they're suitable or not. There's been adoption within, we use Team Taylor as an ATS because we needed to boost our employer branding because there wasn't a TA team prior to me, so we needed something to kind of portray who we were. We're definitely doing, by the way, if people are going to check out the career site, it's going through an iteration. I literally built that myself, so I'm not a marketer. So that's something that we're working on at the moment as a business. We're still a startup, right? So we're not the final product, but so when people apply, make it as seamless as possible. We've started at using Copilot. So there's some sourcing criteria. You get up to about 5 different sourcing criteria within Team Taylor that basically filters for you. We never, ever allow AI to reject people. We only allow it to inform us. So anybody that applies, human eyes will see that application 110%. And then we have also adopted another AI tool on top of that called Nova, which is basically that Copilot via Team Taylor, but on steroids. It's not an AI tool that's just wrapped up in a GPT blanket. It is they built genuine LLM models to go through not only their CV, their LinkedIn, about the JD, all the market about those types of roles as well, and pick all these different informations to give us a score from 0 to 100. And typically what we do is look at people from 80% above. If we don't have enough people, go down towards sort of 70%. And we're teaching that model constantly as well. So we do sort of vet through the lower percentile people just to make sure that the model's doing its work. Because of course we don't want to get somebody that's like 20%. They've applied through some CV format and not a PDF, but something that's like just AI can't pick it up, but they're like the perfect person. So we're still obviously looking at that. But that's how we're currently handling a lot of that. I think we've made the application process very blunt and honest. And we've been very transparent with how we are going to recruit as well. When people apply straight away, they get a link to our candidate hub. Within that, we've literally given them so much detail. We've also said, listen, when you apply, if you're rejected, sadly, we're not going to be able to give you feedback. We're a team of 3 at the moment, and we're currently dealing with something just over 2,000 applications a week between 3 people. It's absolutely ludicrous. It's impossible. So we typically, as soon as they get past, so our stage, we'd give them very high level feedback, and that's the kind of candidate experience that we give. As soon as they can't kind of do like live coding or some form of task, then 100% we're getting very, very good feedback. And also, actually, we're starting giving away a free month voucher to use TryHackMe as well and to learn cybersecurity as well. So we're trying to do as much as possible to kind of soften that blow. But I don't think there's kind of like that silver bullet or platinum bullet that one size fits all in TA. A lot of people have opinions that recruitment should be done this way. Absolutely not. They're absolutely not. Recruitment and TA needs to be molded to the business and the business expectations. It's top down. It's what do the founders want? How do they want it? And how can I deliver what they want? And yes, it's down to me to advise and consult and say, listen, that's just not feasible, or we have to do it this way. But until I've got got there, unfortunately, it's what do you want, and I'm going to go find it for you. And you have to be quite brutal with the application process, but honesty for us is really important. We are super transparent as a business, and we do that within our screening as well. We're like, if we think it's going bad, we'll literally end it in 5-10 minutes, and we'll say, sadly, unfortunately, you're not quite right now. I'd rather tell you now than waste 30 minutes and then reject you anyway. Do you know what I mean? And it on the call, like, it does sound a bit abrupt. And some people are like, oh, that's not a very good candidate experience. But it's like, in the long term, it is. We save them a lot of time. We're actually being super honest. And then we can give them some learning points to then go away and you learn on. And I think that I think is really missing in recruitment as a whole. And, the title for agency is recruitment consultant. And I feel like the word consultant is lacking in a lot of agencies. Talent acquisition people are still there to partner not only with the business, but also with the applications that apply. So partner with them, support them. And I think that is the missing link between why this industry has a bad name out there, is because people think you're just rejecting without looking at my CV, but it's simply not the case. A lot of us are genuinely really trying. We're just flooded.
No, 100%. And obviously we're the same. We're getting thousands of applications, and unfortunately, when you've got the industry the way it is and the economy, clients are very specific. They want people that can plug and play immediately. So the chances of getting someone in for us, when our clients come to us and want the ready-made article, we can't always propose someone who's not from the industry. Totally get that. Application volumes are off the scale, but at least you are getting back to people. There's a lot of people that are not getting anything at all apart from an automated message. And then obviously during the interview process, if you're going to reject someone, it's got to be that more personable touch, because ultimately it's a small market. Everybody knows everybody. A future candidate, future employee could be put off by what they hear from someone else. So
100%. I'm actually I'm a firm believer. Sorry to interrupt. I'm a firm believer. Good people know good people. So if you're speaking to a good person that may not be fit, may not be a fit. Sorry. In 2 years' time, one, they might be a fit anyway. Or 6 months' time, they might do a course and be the perfect fit, or they might have just had a really bad interview with you. We all have bad days. But also, again, like you say, good people know good people. And I think just making sure the candidate experience is as transparent as it can be. Sadly, people can take a hit. They can just be brutally honest. As much as it is not nice to hear, it will help them in the long run. And I think giving people as much feedback as possible is important. When it comes to automation, of course, you're going to have to send some message templates out to automatically reject people. But as long as you build out those templates to have specific reasons as to why, let's say, for instance, it's clearly defined as a 50K role. Someone's applied and they've registered as an 80K person. Well, guess what? Unfortunately, I'm going to reject you because you're 30K over budget. But I'll put that in my email. It might be an automated template that I've already created that I send out to other people that are over budget, but that it will be in there. The reason will be in there, and I think that's and if they come back and be like, okay, I didn't see that, well, fair enough, that happens. But
location is another one. When someone needs to be specifically, in the East UK. Coast or Central, UK, and it's one of those things that it's down as remote, but it's remote in that particular country as well. Sorry, I lost you there. It's fine.
No, I heard you.
Yeah,
just jump.
It's fine. We'll edit that bit, but So just sort of going on to the next one. So I suppose regarding bridging the industry talent gap currently, because obviously there is a lot of people out there, a lot of people from related industries that are looking to get into cybersecurity. I know obviously you're a startup, you're scaling, you want those people that can come straight in, ready-made articles and get in there. I suppose bridging that talent gap at the minute is probably not where TryHackMe is, but I know you mentioned sort of internships and potential other stuff in the future. How does that potentially look like moving forward, just for people that have got TryHackMe on their sort of radar? Probably not right at this moment in time, but potentially there's a way in the future. So is there anything you can sort of digress on that?
Absolutely. I think me and the head of engineering and the engineering management especially have been speaking a lot about software engineering intakes and doing some form of I wouldn't say graduate scheme, but more like a junior kind of cohort of people that can come in and go through some form of incubator system to develop into a software engineer within TryHackMe. That's kind of in talks, and I think maybe sometime towards the end of next year, kind of October, September next year, is something that we'll probably look at. We're in quite heavy talks about that at the moment. We'd love to do it. In terms of the content engineers, a lot of them actually already do a ton with people inside, because we're an ed tech, right? So we teach people anyway. So we are naturally bridging that skills gap in cybersecurity. A lot of them do, CTF challenges. They go to a lot of meetups and kind of present and explain not only what TryHackMe can do, but also the community in general. It's not just name dropping TryHackMe. Excuse me. There's also a ton of other tools and communities that you can learn from. I think for us, I wouldn't say there's necessarily a skills gap in getting into cyber. It's unless you're actually a cyber professional. For us, it's more, how can you translate that experience into what we need? So we're still a software as a service, right? So we still have a payment portal. So think fintech. Software engineers get into TryHackMe because they could add value around our, I think it's like PCI compliance and stuff like that they do around sort of fintech payments and whatever else. And or within fintechs, there's still a security team in infrastructure. Who builds that infrastructure? DevOps, SREs. There's still a translation. It's still a software as a service. It's still a product that end users are ultimately using, right? And I think again, having that kind of product mindset is super important for somebody coming into TryHackMe. Is that as soon as you can translate what you can do for a product, not just a company, for a product, then you can put that into that company after. So I think it's just getting kind of like almost like these nuggets of experience that you've got, having a long list of saying, right, I can do, I've done growth hacking for a small e-commerce company. Okay, great. Okay, what was your audience? My audience was all over Germany, Berlin, for an e-commerce. Great. Okay, guess what? You could then probably translate that into Deliveroo or Uber Eats, growing in Berlin and Germany, right? You're essentially still growth hacking a similar community. It's just because people sometimes think, oh, just because I'm in that industry, how do I translate it in that industry? So I think that's also straight away the first thing you need to realize. If you can't do that, then guess what? There is a skills gap, there is a qualification gap or something. So go out and gain your experience through systems like TryHackMe. There's loads of others like that, Udemy for software engineering. There's loads of different training courses, qualifications that you can do, but also meetups. I mean, again, go back to that, good people know good people. If you're genuinely interested in developing your career, go to meetups. I do tons. Like I literally got invited to a roundtable today in London next Thursday about trying to get more people from hard knocks type sort of way of growing up. People that have really struggled in this life to try get them into careers. And how do we do that? And how do we optimize AI to help that as well? And I think that's a really interesting thing. So I can go there. Hopefully, I not only add value but also learn a ton on my side as well. Because I'd love to also do stuff like that. TryHackMe. How do we help people more? How do we bring more people in? Can we give away even more freemiums to people that need jobs? All these types of different things. So meetups are really important, and just chat to people. Just chat, just speak to people. The only reason I'm in the position I'm in today is because I've absorbed knowledge. I've just been a sponge. That's the only reason.
No, that's what it's all about. Obviously, that also helps. I mean, obviously, like you said, the school of hard knocks, and getting people in and giving them a lift. I suppose, obviously, as an ex-forces individual yourself, that's something I'm always get approached with by our amazing veterans, not just obviously in the UK and Europe, but in the US as well, that are looking to get into cyber, and perhaps if not on sort of the tech side, perhaps TryHackMe, that ability to engage and get across to people, that learning, that discipline. Again, our amazing veterans could be the next people that look to come across and do that as well. So that could be another sort of area of interest.
Yeah, just on the obviously I know quite a lot about the military. Just on the UK veterans, just whilst I'm here, if you serve over a certain period of time, I believe it's 4 years. I don't know if it's changed since I served. I joined in 2010, left in 2016, so I've been out for a while now. But I have LCAS credits, so people get a certain amount of money from the government to go do courses. So I believe, I'm not sure if mine have run out, but I've currently got like £6,000 worth of learning credits from the government that I can go spend and do courses. I'm not, like I said, I'm not sure if mine is still about, but a lot of people leaving the military will, and businesses need to recognise that. So when you see a veteran applying for roles, take a drop down to the bottom of their CV. Typically, they might state that they've got learning credits to use. Therefore, guess what? You're breathing a whole new a resource pool of candidates, right? And it's similar to loads of other different people like firefighters, etc. But obviously veterans are close to my heart anyway. But yeah, definitely take a little dive deeper into those sorts of people.
Quality, excellent. Just on sort of, and appreciate again, the business is still sort of very early in that growth phase, so you may or may not have come across this yet. You might have. But how are you trying to retain top talent? Because I know it's recruitment and retainment. It goes hand in hand. Yeah, it's all about retention and keeping the best people as well as hiring the best people. So what are you doing sort of to retain them? Any additional courses? Constant career development. What is it that you're doing or trying to do differently?
Yeah, I think the business previously, so a couple of years ago, may have probably had a different answer to this. But I think post-COVID, and let's paint the picture a little bit here. Post-COVID, FANG companies, all these other, and I'm obviously sad again that loads of people are being made redundant. But sadly, sadly for them, but sometimes quite good for people like us who can't afford those FANG salaries, is the realization now is not everybody's paying 130, 140k for a developer, right? That's just natural fact now. It's not happening anymore. Yeah. I think the realization of the market balancing out is really starting to be seen. So I think that straight away is naturally in our heads, right? Having the sustainability in the company is really important. We're fully bootstrapped. We're profitable, so there's no risk of redundancy. I know. Again, I'm kind of sitting on my ivory mountain here and kind of boasting. It's not the case at all. But that is really important to sometimes look at when you're going for a role or you're moving jobs. Is that sustainability, that growth, and where can you actually be in 2, 3, 4 years? I spoke to somebody literally today. He was going in between us and Lloyds Bank, and he was like, "I'm here with Lloyds Bank, but I'm here with you." But I was like, "But you could probably be there a lot quicker." Do you know what I mean? With a business like us, because you're naturally going to be exposed to a lot more and grow a lot quicker. And I think some people need to step back and think about that, and not just think about that golden ticket or a wage at the end of it. Retaining for us is incredibly important, because, like I say, I started this call with saying that we run a very intense environment, an ambitious environment. We have a team full of A players, and we're genuinely really impressed with our team at the moment. The way we're doing that is first and foremost, we're doing a massive benefits and comp kind of overview at the moment. It takes a long time because we hire in 34 countries, so we can't just go, "Oh, by the way, you're all on that," because that's just silly. So it's going to take a long time because we need to compute across a lot of different locations. But I think it's recognizing people. I think people really need to want to be heard about what they're doing and how they're doing it. It's building the foundations in terms of a management structure that actually is there to support you, and be there for you, and actually be that kind of confidant on where could you be, because they've done it in their career. They might have had it potentially slightly easier, because back in the day it was slightly easier. But also, how are we learning and development? That's L&D is incredibly important. We actually give £2,500 a year per person, which is one of the most generous L&D budgets I've seen for a long time. And that's for, we are adopting more AI. So why not spend it, do an AI course? If you want to buy books, I've been buying some books that I want to be learning a little. So I'm genuinely really interested in development, security and infrastructure and stuff like that. So I'm reading a lot about it at the moment. So I've use some of that budget to buy books off Amazon, and it would just straight away I invoice it back. So certain things like that we're doing to kind of continuously push people and drive people. I think every individual in the business has a one-to-one. So naturally within that one-to-one, we're kind of always understanding, what have you achieved? What do you want to achieve? What are the blockers? How can we, basically how can we enhance you? How do we constantly push you? Because we're hiring A players want to be A players. They want to constantly grow. So we need to build that environment. So it's constantly asking them and then kind of trying to build that environment as much as possible. But the good thing about our business right now is we are genuinely evolving so quickly. The opportunities are there. It's just about grabbing hold of them. So I think that's kind of how we retain people, is just that transparency of what is possible when people join. Really early on, I have the conversations from a screening stage before it even goes to hiring manager. So we set the standard very early. And then it goes through all the interview stages, then to a founder. So a founder then also double checks they speak to absolutely everybody that joins the business, whether you're junior, senior, whatever. So we still really have that, again, that DNA is really, really strong in us. But we set that standard from day one. We then the onboarding process is all structured about how can you make an impact and what does that impact mean. So you have a first 30 days document that everybody joins. So your first 4 weeks kind of mapped out for you. We then kind of dive into what do we then do to get you to where you want to be. And some people may be here 2, 3, 4 years, but they'll leave here with a ton of experience and then maybe go get that meta job or that X job somewhere else or something like that, right? But sadly you're gonna have to shake their hands and wish them the best of luck, because we can't compete with them. But that's kind of how we retain, is listen and develop as much as possible, but also build an environment around them with great peers, great structure for them to communicate and be challenged.
Fantastic, excellent. No, that's absolutely brilliant. Sorry, just give me 2 seconds. We'll pause it there. Right, yeah, that should be better. Right, yeah. For some reason, my battery wasn't charging, but it is now. But yeah, we'll obviously get rid of that bit. So I suppose the next question really is something that is constantly coming up all the time at the minute when it comes to vacancies and people discussing companies and what their stance is. COVID, everyone went remote. Now companies are trying to bring people back in. What's the stance on remote work and hybrid working from home, being in the offices? I appreciate there's challenges, advantages and disadvantages for both. But where do you stand? Where does TryHackMe stand on hybrid working from home or in the office?
Yes, yeah. So we're actually a fully remote business. We don't even have an office. We don't have any offices. It's optional if you want to meet in person. So, for instance, I was in London some of last week. I will probably be in London again in a couple of weeks to go meet the new TA team and stuff like that. So that's just expense. You go up to London, you get a WeWork or a co-working space somewhere, and you put that on your company card, right? The SLT, the leadership teams will meet from time to time. So we'll go do like sort of hackathons. We'll go do sort of meetups sometimes, again, typically in London, because it's sort of the hub it's kind of like the central location of all of our countries that we employ from. We then meet as much as possible in person. So we actually do a yearly retreat. We were in Athens in Greece about 4 weeks ago. That was great. About 90 of us. Sadly, not the whole company could come for certain reasons, visas and whatever else. But we had about 90 people in Athens for 4 or 5 weeks ago, which is incredible. So, yeah, I mean, my view on remote working is great. But I think, and you'll notice this, a lot of people are now moving towards hybrid again or back in the office 5 days a week. Is because they never set their processes and policies up to be remote. So all their structure of their business was made that, to not be asynchronous, to not be, just chatting on Slack or meeting maybe once a week. So sadly, when they did that, it didn't work. So that as soon as they could claw that back and, see that revenue again or see that performance or optimization again, then they decided to go for the former acknowledged. So I think when you're remote, you need to be set up to be remote. I do see a massive trend right now in more hybrid. I don't see much full-time office in this industry. I'm actually very shocked when I see full-time office. I think in today's world, I just think if you're going to hire people with all these tools that we can communicate like this or Google Me, why? Like, if anything, you're going to get more out of the people because they're not traveling an hour, 2 hours a day. You then, I think hybrid, is good if you like it. I like getting in person. So if I get the opportunity, I do meet the team, and we're very open to allowing that to happen. But I see a massive trend in more 2 days a week in the office, 1 day a week in the office. I even see stuff like once in a month. It's stuff like that. It's very rare, but I think hybrid to remote is the way forward for sure.
No, we see it a lot. I suppose that sales and GTM, obviously if it's sort of your internal, your BDRs, your SDRs, a lot of people like them to be in because they're learning the ropes, they're learning the market, etc. But your sort of AEs and above tend to be field based, going to an office when there's a meeting required. But your tech guys, they like to be remote, focused on developing and doing what they do. I get certain end customers want people to be in the offices, like you said, when they've got these huge office blocks, real estate costing God knows how many thousands or millions a year. I get it from that side, but obviously
ridiculous.
Works perfect. So
It's
no,
just the cost of it that is insane, but that's what we invest in these retreats and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's brilliant. And getting the team together, again, it's great culturally, getting everyone to meet up. Obviously, you've got that sort of team building, which is always great. Just on sort of moving forward with obviously hiring challenges, where do you see sort of the hiring challenges over the sort of foreseeable future, the next sort of 3-5 years? Do you see it in specific skills, lack of trained professionals? How do you see the industry developing, and where potentially there could be a skill shortage, or yeah, what's your thoughts? What's going to be the biggest challenges?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I mean, there's no, unfortunately, we don't have a ball to kind of rub our hands around and find out, right?
Yeah.
But I think for cybersecurity, especially, I think a lot of people are following the trends, and I think that's a mistake, right? Because you've got to follow where the jobs are. For instance, we've got 2 certs. We released our 2 accredited certifications. One SAL1, which is a security analyst level 1, and then PT1 pen tester level 1. A lot of cyber jobs right now are focused around those 2 areas. Typically, they're like the biggest bugbearers in teams right now. So we followed the market rather than the trends. Yes, we can do security around AI. Yes, we can do security around blockchain, crypto, whatever it may be. But are there jobs there? Does it actually help you get a job? And I think that's ultimately what it all boils down to. If you're training, you're typically training because it's for your career. So of course, some people just love to train and develop. Absolutely, who doesn't? So I think that is first and foremost the first thing to kind of think about here. But I think that if for the future and over the next sort of 3 to 5 years or so and beyond, naturally AI will be a big point of that. I think, how do you secure more around AI? Because there's going to be AI is getting smarter and smarter, people using it are getting smarter and smarter. So there's going to be potential phishing issues just from an AI agent. There probably some hacker going to build an AI agent to do all this work for him or her, send out a ton of different phishing emails without literally lifting a finger. And then that AI agent will just flag to that, maybe their mobile, say, "Hey, some idiot's clicked on it." do you know what I mean? But that's
Ka-ching.
Cha-ching. Let's hold them all for ransom. But it's almost like that's kind of like the way the world is. I wouldn't say, hopefully, fingers crossed, it doesn't, because cyber teams are also advancing. Right? So with learning and development and tools like TryHackMe. So I think it's just important to stay in the loop of your learning. But I think the world is navigating towards a lot more automations. So how do we find gap in those automation securities? How do we kind of evolve and follow those trends without following them too much, where you follow them too much, you actually leave your own career and your own career ladder that you've just gone off piece too much. So bring it in, claw it back every now and then, and just focus on your career, because that it's there for a reason. And especially in cyber, I don't think any job's at risk, but it's also sometimes dipping into those potential trends a little bit, not too much. Don't get lost. But I think that's kind of where I see the skills gap, especially around AI.
Cool, fantastic. And talking about AI, getting into a subject that we've already had a chat about, and I know you've got quite a bit to say on this. So, fraudulent applications and identity theft when it comes to interviewing and applications. We've already touched on it briefly with sort of ChatGPT making people's CVs relevant for jobs, but I've seen a lot of increased activity. How are you and your team sort of trying to defend against that suspect activity? Deep fakes, AI generated applications. Have you got particular protocols that you're implementing in order to sort of stop that happening? Where are you up to with that?
Yeah, I remember I spoke about this with you the other week, didn't I?
Yeah.
It genuinely blows my mind, but we are hit. We've been hit quite hard from it. I think it's going to hit remote companies more, because it's coming from people that are typically remote. If you're a UK-based engineer or cyber specialist, typically, again, very stereotypical, you're typically from the UK or can speak very good English. Typically, of course, there's different areas that may not be that sort of world. But essentially, I think when it comes to AI fake candidates, I think a lot of them are job farming. So there might be a consultancy somewhere around the world that are trying to find these low-hanging fruit jobs, bring them all into consultancy and just work them as a massive collective and just try to get a load of money, because they're in cheap countries right now. So they would, what we're seeing actually is a huge trend with essentially, apparently Polish based people, and they're not
Yes.
Polish in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
So as a business, what I started looking at, because I got stung with this about a year ago, and I'd never had it before. So I actually had a deep fake as well, an actual deep fake.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to respond. I was like, what is going on? Is it? Have they got a filter on? Like, it was just deep fake.
Brad Pitt sat across from you going for a job.
Yeah, it was bizarre. It was bizarre. But I then obviously researched more into it because it's the first time I ever did it. And it was quite new in the market still. So I think I had to build a kind of protocol process. So that's now in place where, this is what you do in this scenario. And we're quite blunt with it as well. We're quite blunt with anybody. We've got this phrase internally that we're unapologetically unorthodox. So we don't do things because people think you should do it that way. We do things how we think we should do things because it makes us successful. And I think when you come to these kind of deep fakes and AI candidates, because they've used AI screening tools, or you can see their eyes moving, reading a screen or something like that. You can see that they're left to right and they're just straight away word for word. And you can tell they're reading from a script. We just say, right, sorry, I've got, I believe that you are currently reading from a script. I believe that you're not the candidate you say you are, and therefore I'm going to end the call. And just pause. The power of the pause. If they don't immediately go, "How dare you," or like, if they look at you and kind of just take it, then guess what? They probably are fake, right? So we just go, "Okay, have a good day. Take care." And then every single person we've done that to, none of them have emailed us and said, "How dare you do that?" or all these stuff, because they are genuinely fake, or they just know they're using AI and they know they're just trying to get a buck. So that is one of my protocols that I've built, is just be blunt and be unapologetically unorthodox and apologize later, beg for forgiveness later if we do mess up, which it might happen soon. Fingers crossed it doesn't, but it might. And it will be the fact that, unfortunately, this is what we believed. Sadly, this is happening right now. Let us talk a little bit more. And I've noticed at the moment, so Google have just, I believe it was yesterday or today, I read about it. They are going to now bring back in-person meetings for technical stages because they believe there's too many fake candidates. I read a lot about on NBC, CBS, even the BBC, tons of different news outlets about the last 5-6 months released that 1 in 4, 25% of applicants are going to be fake through AI. 20, that's insane.
That's just crazy.
That is ridiculous. And I mentioned we get over 1,000 applicants, right? So 250 of that, my really bad maths there, 250 are potentially going to be just fake. And I'm just like, that is just the man hours that are going to go behind this is insane. So what we're doing now is we're being a detective. So a really big selling sign for us is inconsistencies in CV, and then translated into LinkedIn. I mean, what person? I know there's some that don't, but what person these days don't have a LinkedIn? Sorry, most people have a LinkedIn, at least are populated to a certain amount. And honestly, we kind of look for that because we want people to want to portray who they are and have respect for their own experience, and kind of be like, this is me. I want to showcase who I am. So that's obviously a really important aspect. Look at when the LinkedIn was created, how many connections they have. We spoke to one literally yesterday. Evidently came from an agency, which was really disappointing. We ended the call in 3 minutes, and we looked at the LinkedIn. It was created something like 8 days ago. Has like 13 connections, and it was just they've always got a filter. So if they're an AI deep fake, I haven't had one since, but just get them to move their hand in front of them. But deep fakes are going to be so advanced that the hand is also going to be involved in that deep fake. So definitely do that. Get them to move. Get them to switch off the filter. So within our invites, we now state, please do not have any filters on your camera. Move if you don't like what's ultimately, we haven't said this, but ultimately if you don't like what's behind you, move somewhere else, go to a coffee shop. It's an interview. Have some respect for the interview. So there's certain things that we're doing, and unfortunately, like I say, be unapologetically yourself, and just apologize later, because sadly if those numbers are true, 25%, 1 in 4, you can't take the risk, because the risk to the business if you accidentally hire them is astronomical. The security risk is ridiculous. So we're really stamping down it. But there are tools as well that you can use. There's loads of AI tools that can support you. We're currently exploring MetaView right now that will kind of potentially help us with kind of screening these types of different things. There's loads of AI detectors that you can use for CVs, for instance. But then when do you stop having just tools on tools? When does that spend stop? So I think just naturally as a recruiter or as a hiring manager, just be a little bit more of a detective, find the missing links between all the noise. And if you do find them, ask them questions before you speak to them. Just email them. Say, I believe, because of this, there's potential that your candidacy could be at risk due to inaccurate data. Just wanted to double check on this. Obviously be polite, be professional. Yeah. But as soon as they don't respond, or as soon as they give a washy answer, done in my book. Yeah. Honestly, we don't have time to waste. If I've got another 750 people, they want the job. They're the important ones. You know what I mean? There's people out there that need jobs and want jobs. Let's cement them and let's get them into work.
Yeah. No, I was speaking to a client the other day, and she was telling me that apparently she's been told that if you get them to go like this, because obviously you can see the background that I've got, it apparently, and get them to turn, you can see. So by doing that, it sort of stops the image from doing what it needs to do. So yes, we're going to utilise that and implement that in our interviews when we're doing it. It's just absolutely crazy. It's the world it is. Like I said, I only came across it some 18 months ago, specifically in identity and access management. Weirdly enough, contractors for a client in the US. But nothing surprises me anymore.
Honestly, it blows my mind. And we now, within our Slack channels, we laugh about it now. So because all of our calls are videoed and transcribed for learning purposes, right? But also for these reasons, to protect us as well. Because if someone then complains, we've got we've got evidence that this is what happened. But it's also for us to train and also for our interview consistency and stuff as a startup. For transparency, for fairness and all that sort of stuff. And obviously we then reflect on these interviews, and they're so obvious. They're really obvious now. So they're going to get smarter. It's getting scarier. The CVs are fantastic. That's why they're getting to screening stages. But I think you just add a little extra kind of snippet into your invite or your initial kind of intro. And if you kind of feel, okay, something's wrong here, to call it out. Call it out. A spade's a spade. Let's call it out. Let's kind of stop this early before it gets a little bit madness. If the industry stamps down on it, then naturally, hopefully, it won't affect us too much in the future.
Yeah, no, 100%. Fantastic. And I suppose the last thing really from me is, anybody watching this, they think, I'm really keen to chat with Daryl and the team. I think I've got the skills, the personality, what it takes to work at TryHackMe. What's the best way for someone to get in touch with you, rather than sort of quick, easy apply on LinkedIn? What's the best way? I know you said referrals, going to obviously the meets and everything, but for people that might not have someone in the business that they know, someone who can't get to the meets and wants to apply now, what can they do? What's the best way for them to get in front of you?
Yeah, sure. So we have a careers site. Like I say, it's going through an iteration at the moment, but it's careers.tryhackme.com. Anybody can connect with literally anybody on LinkedIn. Even our founders are quite active on LinkedIn, both Ben and Ashu. But the talent team are there. And, we're here for a reason. We're here to answer your questions, and we will genuinely endeavour to get back to absolutely everybody. Like I say, we get hounded, but we really do try to get back to everybody, because candidate experience is really, really important. But other than that, look at our platform. There's leaderboards, there's a gamification aspect to it. Be part of that community, learn our products, join our Discord channels, genuinely absorb what we do, because that will put you above everybody else when you do apply. We'll see that, because we will ask you. We'll ask you what you know about our product. That's the first question every single interview asks you. What do you know about TryHackMe? Have you tried our product? And if you haven't, it's kind of like straight away we're like, we kind of deflate a little bit. It's like, come on, let's go. We want to speak. We love what we do. We genuinely love it. Hopefully you see that from exactly. So I think just do that. Be active, be open, be honest, and approach us. And there's a career site. If not, join our it's totally free to sign up, to have a little explore and have some fun, and hopefully see you in the future.
Fantastic, excellent. Daryl, absolute pleasure. It's been great, obviously, having you on the podcast. Very much appreciated. I'll share this with you as soon as possible. It'll be out in in Spotify and all the usual sort of channels for everyone to review and see. So yeah, nothing left for me to say, but yeah, thank you again, and
thanks for having me
again soon.
No, cheers, mate. Thanks for having me. I enjoyed it, actually. A lot of really good talking points, and I'm glad I came in here without preparing, because you kind of got the authentic me as well. So hopefully hopefully the listeners like it. If not, they're not going to apply for our roles, are they?